This video is going to go over how to use Microsoft PowerPoint to do some basic page layout. For many of you, you may have found that if you've tried to use Microsoft Word to do anything that requires some sort of formatting, so things that might have photos or be laid out in a way that isn't just like a typical, school essay, that you will find that things do not always play nice. You'll get photos that kind of get messed up and you add a line somewhere and then the whole formatting gets shifted and it's not where you want it to be. So I'm going to show you how to use Microsoft PowerPoint to kind of control the design a little bit better. So this isn't really necessarily what PowerPoint was built for, but it works pretty well for doing small projects. Once you've got a document created, the first thing we need to do, you'll see that it's set up in a horizontal wide layout. We want it to be in a page layout. So we're going to go to the Design tab, and yours may look a little different. I'm on a Mac, but the basic settings should all be in the same place, or roughly the same places. And on the Design tab, I'm going to go to Slide Size and then Page Setup. And I'm going to change this. Got out of my view a little bit. I'm going to change this to portrait. Oh, let me scroll this down so that you can see the whole menu. There we go. Portrait, and then I want to go to letter paper. And at this point, it doesn't really matter because I don't have any content on the page. Okay, and you'll see now it looks like a piece of paper. The next thing we want to do is get rid of everything that's already on there. So I'm just clicking and dragging over this to select, and I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard. Now I've got a blank page to start with. Now, unlike Word, I can't just click in here and start typing. Well, actually, if I double click, I can, but I can't otherwise just click somewhere. What you'll need to do differently here is you need to add things like text boxes and pictures and put them where you want them. So you can double click to add a text box, or you can click this add a text box thing here, and then you can choose for it to be however you want. You can say, hey, I want this text box over here. I want it to be, I think it wants to downsize because I don't have any text in there. But I want it to be, say, 12-point font. And I'm going to grab some quick fake text just to throw in there. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste just some, this is like a Latin text that people tend to use just to have a place filler text. So I'm going to throw this in here. It looks like this is a lot more text than I actually need. So I'm going to delete some of it. Okay. So from here I can say, okay, maybe this looks too big. Oh, it went back up to 18. So I'm going to drop that back down to 12. And I can start formatting the text from here by selecting the text box. And then I can go into things like line spacing, and I can say, okay, I want it to have a space after each paragraph, because when you're doing papers, you generally want everything double spaced and you don't want extra spaces. When you're doing different kinds of design, if you want it to look like a newsletter or a blog or a magazine article, then you do want to change up how you are formatting your paragraphs to fit with that. The other thing I can do is I can change this to justified, which is going to make it look more like a news article. You see how it went? Now it's a straight line here instead of a jagged edge. So these are other things that can kind of make it look like newsletters or, different types of writing, magazines and whatnot. Okay, unfortunately, we have all these red bars we have to look at, but you get the idea. So now I've got my text over here. Now, if I do other things on this page, this isn't going to be affected. And this is where PowerPoint really shines for this. So if I wanted to add in a picture, And I'm going to just go into online pictures and pick something random directly from here. I can then put this wherever I want. So I could have some photos on the left here. If this was a story that was all about airplanes. And you'll also notice, I've got a couple things going on here. You'll also notice that some kind of bars are showing up. You see that red dotted line? That's helping me center the objects on the page. So I can line up like the left side here with that dotted line, and then I can resize this. See, now that dotted line showed up on the right. Now I've got two equally sized photos, and you'll see how much nicer and neater this looks. And this looks so much neater than when you try to do things on Word. And then I can also add things like, here's my header. Oops, title of my article. And let's say that I want this to be bigger. And I could even play around with, I'm just going to put title of article. I can even play around here with like having a different font for the title than I want for the rest of the article. And I could add a little byline here. Smaller again, by author name, March. Okay, and you see how this is starting to look like something that looks familiar as a layout. It's starting to look a little more magazine-like, newsletter-like, and getting away from looking like a traditional essay paper. So, and you can play around with this too. If you're like, okay, I want this to be, maybe I want a bigger picture up top, and I want this text to go the whole width. You can still do that, and you can still just move things around until you like them. But as you can see, things are moving around a lot easier here than they tend to move around in Microsoft Word. Like, I'm not messing up the formatting of the whole page every time I drag something around. So this is an easy way to kind of control how things are looking for assignments like this. Now, the only thing I will say that you need to pay attention to is when you go to turn things in, if you're going to use PowerPoint, you want to make sure that you are uploading it or saving it first and then uploading it in a format that people can read. So you want to make sure that when you save, you can save it as a PowerPoint, but then you're also going to want to export it as a PDF. Here I can export it directly as a PDF. You can also do a save as or a print, like go to print just like you were going to print it on a printer, and then select PDF as your printer instead of printing it on paper. And then either of those are going to give you a PDF document that every computer should be able to read. So be it for our class or be it for another class that you're in, as long as you export it, you know, obviously make sure that the professor doesn't have a specification that it needs to be a docx file or something like that, but in general, most people can open PDFs. So that's just a really basic tutorial. Hopefully that helped you, and you'll be able to more easily format some non-traditional papers this way. Okay, hope that helps.